Hi, everyone. Thank you all for joining us today. While we're still waiting for the rest of our members to jump in and join the session, I just want to conduct a quick technical check to make sure that you can hear us and see us clearly. So, if you look at your chat box button, mine is actually located at the top part. Can you please just let us know where you're joining from? Are you dialing in from Auckland? Are you coming from windy Wellington? Is it going to be from Christchurch, Dunedin? Can you just please let us know? And that would confirm that you can hear us well too. All right, we've got Amber from West Auckland. Hi, Amber. Mel from Taupo. Serena from Pookie. Nicole from Wendy Wellington here. Hi.
Mhm.
And we've got, yeah, okay. Lots of them are coming in now. Fantastic. So it's quite spread out. All right. I think we'll have a few
Hey,
more
there's someone
members
from
trying.
Nelson there. That's great.
Oh, are you from Nelson, Richard?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
Yes. Oh,
Hi,
fantastic. Yes.
Darshana.
Oh, that's great. All right. I think we still have a few more members trying to dialing in because I can see the number going up. But what I'm gonna do now is I'll just start with my introduction. Okay. Hello, everybody. My name is Ken from the New Zealand Qualified Bookkeepers Association, and welcome to our webinar on AI 101 for bookkeepers. Here's a reminder to ensure that we have a seamless meeting today. First of all, please put yourself in mute at all times to avoid interrupting our speakers. However, we highly encourage you to engage and make this webinar interactive by using our chat box if you have questions or opinions that you would like to express. And I believe that all of you or most of you have found that chat button now. So make sure that if you want to interact and engage, feel free to type in any questions or opinions that you have. Are we going to have some slides that will be provided
Yes,
after the session? Yes? Okay.
I can provide those. Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic. Thank you for confirming. And of course, your feedback matters to us. So to keep our webinars relevant to your needs, please take a moment to complete the feedback form after the session today. And then what will happen is that you will receive a certificate of participation for your CPD hours as a thank you for completing our feedback. So I'm going to share the link now. Feel free to save it for later. And thank you in advance for helping us improve our webinars. There you go. The feedback link is on the chat box now. I made it big to make sure that you don't miss it. All right, so let me just introduce our guest speakers for today. And I can already see that the recording has started. First, of course, we've got Shane Laurence, Head of Growth at Fundtap. Shane works with accountants, bookkeepers, advisors, and fintech partners to help small businesses manage cash flow timing. His work focuses on working capital, fintech, and the evolving role of advisors in better financial decision making. With experience in business ownership, accountancy, sales, and financial services, he brings a practical view of where businesses get stuck and how advisors can add value, especially through better systems, smarter technology, and more proactive client support. And of course, we've got Richard Butler, the director of Arcaina. Richard helps businesses unlock practical opportunities with AI. Through his company Arcaina, he works with senior leaders to identify challenges and apply AI tools for the best outcomes. With 30 years in tech, including 16 running his own firm and 7 years as an executive coach, he combines technical, business, and human insight to guide organizations through AI adoption. So, to talk about AI for bookkeepers, let's welcome Shane and Richard.
Thank you.
Hello, fantastic. Thank you, Ken. As mentioned, Shane Laurence, Head of Growth with Fundtap. First of all, a really big shout out to Ken and the NZQBA organisation. Out of all of the wider membership organisations we deal with, Ken is my favourite. She's always really big on making sure that us as supporters get value, but also a really big advocate on ensuring that the membership gets the right information at the right time to help grow their businesses. So thanks again, Ken, for having us involved. Really appreciate everything you do. It's Fundtap, real brief overview of us and what we do. I won't spend too long, and then I'll get on to the interesting stuff with Richard. So we're a Nelson-based fintech providing cash flow timing support to small and medium businesses throughout New Zealand and Australia. At its most basic, a business has earned money, it's just not sitting in the bank account at the moment. So I've got an invoice due 20th of the following month, but my wage is due, my GST is due. So we've got a solution in place that helps small businesses with their cash flow timing gaps. We work with a number of accountants and advisors to provide solutions to their clients. A number of accountants and bookkeepers also use our facilities themselves. I'll put into a link into the chat if you're interested in discussion around our advisor program. Myself or one of the team will follow up at a later date. So there'll be a link in the chat around that. Also have a link in there. We're running a current $10,000 for free funding promotion till the end of June. So if any of yourselves, any of your clients come on board and fund before the 30th of June, we'll provide that first $10,000 funding round for free. So on to today, AI, bookkeepers, practical application. One thing we've really dived into over the last 6 to 12 months is AI and testing out and seeing where things are going. And it's quite quickly become quite an overwhelming field and all of the possibilities out there. And then how do I actually apply this to my business on an ongoing basis to help the business grow? So what I'd like to do to start off is launch a quick little poll or SoundCloud. So if one of you is possibly Richard, if you could give us a little thumbs up if you see this coming through. But I'd like all of you to place one word, how you feel about AI and how that's going to affect the future of bookkeeping. So I'm pretty excited about it. And as we see those responses come through, quite a few excited, amazing, time saver, curious, helpful, enhance, a little bit of nervous there as well. Transformative. Really good to see. And I guess the approach to take to this is looking actually at how this technology can help your business move forward to allow you to do more of the things that add value to your small business clients. Right, so we'll cap it at that. And just next to get an idea of how many of you are actually using AI on the day-to-day basis and at what kind of level. So there'll be 4 options come up, basically from not using it all through to I'm basically an expert. So if you're happy to provide a little bit of an indication of how you're currently using AI in your day-to-day. One of those responses come in. We've got a small number who obviously aren't using AI but are looking to utilize it. Small number, I'd say almost expert users, automating workflows and actually utilizing it to grow their business already. The majority of people sitting there using it for basic tasks, asking questions, writing emails, getting some feedback to save you doing a few of the hard yards, right through to about half of people using it, obviously, on an ongoing basis. So quite timely here. So thanks for that. Good to get a bit of mooting. Everyone's pretty excited and everyone's using it in some way in their day-to-day process. So from here, I'll pass on to Richard, the actual expert in the area, to kick on with that. So over to you, Richard.
Thanks, Shane. Thank you for that. I was a bit surprised that in the words people weren't using, scared wasn't one of them, because that's how I'm feeling about it too. So let's move on from that. So I'm just going to try and share my screen here. So hopefully this will work. We've tested it out. So Shane, if you could let me know that you can see everything okay. Is that all on the screen there? Great, thank you. That's good to see. Thank you. So yeah, thanks for that, Shane. Obviously, I'm here to talk about AI and particularly around bookkeeping and what it means for you, your clients, and your future, I guess. I'd like to just kind of start with a little bit of history about me. So I've been in the tech industry for around 30 years now. I started way back in about 1990, 1995, 1996, I think it was. I ran my own IT business here in Nelson for the last 16 years. I also spent 7 years of my life working as an executive and a leadership coach. And I've now kind of focused all of my time and attention on AI consultancy. So I work with businesses doing figuring out AI strategy, doing implementations, and helping them kind of transform processes and kind of make it take advantage of challenges within their organizations. I genuinely believe that this is a people problem and not a tech problem. So the technology is fascinating and incredibly amazing, but I think we need to start thinking of it in a different way, and I'll come on to that a little bit later in the slides. So I'm here to really kind of spark some excitement in you guys and address some real concerns. So there'll be a little bit of time for questions at the end. So if anyone has any, please feel free to throw them in the mix. I'm happy to do what I can to answer them. So this I mean, I think this is the biggest shift we've seen in the generation in technology, not just across bookkeeping, of course, across all industries. But if you can kind of see in that slide there some of the things that's happening now. Back in the day, we were manual ledgers and stamping and coding. Next, we had things like Xero, where we were doing digital workflows and kind of automating a whole bunch of standard tasks. And now we're kind of in this space where AI is starting to become, a strategic partner, someone who can really help you in your business and your organization, and of course that reflects back into your customers as well. And that little quote down the bottom there, that's from me. I did not think this would happen in my lifetime. I've been a science fiction nerd for most of my life, and I am just actually blown away by the fact that this is happening right now. This is part of the reason why I've jumped in with both feet, because it feels like something that I've been waiting for for a long time. So yeah, just to get you guys thinking, and Shane's already kind of given you a little bit of an idea about this with the poll, but where do you stand right now with AI? We find that people kind of fall into a few different camps. The progressives are kind of actively using AI tools. They're using products like Claude and ChatGPT to create workflows and kind of documents and stuff for themselves. They've got clear guardrails in place around the things that they do, and they're really stretching their capacity within their organizations. We get the people who are kind of worried about it. So, is AI going to steal my job? And also some kind of fears that you might have when tools like Receipt Bank and Dext appeared, of how am I going to make money if this technology is doing all of my work for me? People who are still charging by the hour, this can be problematic when you're using AI, because the speed at which you can work becomes a lot faster. So you need to start thinking about how you're actually going to charge your customers for the work that you do, and feeling kind of concerned about being left behind or getting it wrong. And then the other camp is the people who are overwhelmed. They've not really got the time to think about this thing. They're just not even sure where to start. That's where a lot of people are. And just so you know, I work with a lot of businesses in a lot of different industries. Those two final camps, that's where most people are right now. This is a very common thing. If you have started using AI in your business, then you actually are ahead of where a lot of businesses are right now. So don't feel too concerned if you haven't really kind of kicked it off and using it exclusively all the time now, because it's actually quite normal. And I think the concerns that people have had over the last 2 or 3 years or so have been quite valid, but they're starting to become less valid now with the way the tools are changing. So Irene at Admin Army was very kind to have a chat with me last week and tell me a little bit about what she's doing in her business, and was also incredibly kind to allow me to share some of that information. So this is some of the impacts that she's seen in her bookkeeping firm. One thing that really stood out for me was the thing in the big square there. She reckons she's she's increased her capacity within her own business by almost 3 times by using AI. So essentially able to handle 3 times more work with the same amount of time. So they are using Claude as one of their main tools for spreadsheet handling. They're using the Teams and Enterprise, the Teams version, so they get their good security. That's very important. Never ever use a free tool in your business, and I'll come on to why that's important in a second, particularly around some rule changes that have happened in New Zealand over the last few days. They have clear rules and guidelines about what data can and can't be uploaded. This is where an AI policy becomes very important in your business, particularly if you have more than one person in the organization. Everything is reviewed. So I always have a phrase that a person needs to check any work that's gone out. The way we look at it is, if you would be happy for whatever you sent out generated by AI to be on the front of the paper with your name on it, then that's okay. If you're not, don't do it. Simple as that. And also one of the things that Irene has managed to do is get a kind of a brand template across her AI tools. So anything that anything's generated by AI is branded and it's in the right colors and all those kind of things. So really useful thing to do. AI kind of makes its own stuff up otherwise. What can we do for bookkeepers right now? So obviously bookkeepers are fairly hot on spreadsheets. One of the things that AI is really good at is building complex spreadsheets, usually from a prompt. So you can ask it to build a fairly complex spreadsheets with formulas and calculations and pivot tables and all that kind of stuff from a simple prompt. So, build me a spreadsheet that analyzes the sales data, creates a whole bunch of graphs or charts for this month, and allows me to use goal seek to try and figure out what we need to improve to get to a certain area. So one of the things that's important there, as I've said in the slide, is get it to show you all your workings. You need to be able to audit these steps. AI doesn't always get everything right, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a second. So things like client comms, really great for drafting emails, writing reports, doing client updates, that kind of stuff. Workflow automation. There are tools like Carbon now that have got agentic AI built in. You can also use tools like Claude and ChatGPT to integrate in with your email systems and document management systems to build out some of that workflow automation. It's not too tricky to do, but probably worth getting someone in who knows what they're talking about. One of the great things about AI, of course, is the fact that it can be a strategic thinking partner. I use AI all the time to help me work with my clients, and I'm working with clients who are integrating AI in there. So it's actually quite a great tool to be able to do that. So worth playing around with, getting used to. Just start with something simple, I think, is the best way to do this. So here's some of the stuff that nobody wants to do and AI can take away. And these are all fairly simple things. Obviously, the second line there is around some of the zero functionality that's already in there, but the rest of these are standard functionality of most of the AI tools, like Claude and ChatGPT. So have a look through those. Probably some of these will resonate on things that you do. The monthly report, I think, is a great way to start using AI for your clients. If you're already doing monthly reports for your clients, tools like Claude and ChatGPT can really speed up that process. It does make it so much easier. Of course, it needs to be checked as well. So yes, so one of the things I was speaking with Irene about when we had this conversation, what's the opportunity here? And where we got to is this is one of your superpowers as bookkeepers. You're in the day-to-day accounts all day, every day. You see what's happening with clients' cash flow. You kind of get the rhythm of the business. You notice the ups and downs and the strange anomalies when they come. You probably run your own business too, and you're that kind of trusted day-to-day voice. Most accountants and strategic advisors tend not to get involved in people's businesses on a day-to-day basis, like you guys do. And I think that some of the things on the right-hand side are where the real opportunities are for you as bookkeepers to be able to really kind of dig in and add some real value in there. If your value isn't kind of coding entries and reconciling balance sheets and that kind of things, what does that value look like? And I think this is where this could be a really great opportunity for all of you guys in this industry. I think every industry in the world at the moment needs to start thinking about what's going to get automated by AI, and then what does that mean for us in terms of really adding value, and your ability to kind of have a handle on what's going on in a client's business is where the real value is. That's the big opportunity, I think. So obviously you're probably aware AI is already in all of your software. It's been in Xero for a while now. Carbon has been launched recently, and tools like Claude and ChatGPT are available right now and very, very easily integrated into your current system. So if you're using Microsoft 365, of course, there is another tool called Copilot. I'm not so sure about the functionality of that product yet. It's okay, but it needs to improve before it's really useful. But tools like Claude and ChatGPT can both integrate into your Microsoft environment. And if you're using Google, exactly the same as well. Those tools integrate really well. So for example, I have Claude integrated in with my email system and my CRM system and my document management system. And I can ask questions of any of those systems from within the same window. And I can even integrate data from all of those different systems into a question that I might be asking. So, tell me when, for example, I can say, tell me, look through my inbox and tell me which of the emails that are in there need to be attended to quickly, which are urgent, which I have received and have not responded to. Look in my CRM system and tell me which customers I haven't been in touch with recently that I need to contact. Look in my accounting system and tell me what needs to be done in there that's waiting for action. Look through my documents and help me figure out how I can integrate all of these different proposals that I put to the customers in the last 6 months and really see what improvements I can make. So there's so much can be done in there. It really just is kind of the limits of your imagination as much as anything else. But as I said before, just start slowly and just get used to the tools if you haven't used them before. So one of the things we often get asked by customers is data security. I think you guys are in a very strong position here around this kind of area because compliance is pretty much what you guys do. It's not really anything that's a problem for you. In fact, it's a real strength. So you can see there on some of the concerns and safeguards around what we're looking at there. So we've got to be very careful about what we put into these AI tools. And I think, sorry, excuse me. So I think one of the things that as I said earlier on, is that the super important is you absolutely must not use the free versions of these tools. If you're going to put client data in there, you must use the paid versions. The paid versions do not use any information that you put in them to train the models. The free versions absolutely do use information to train the models that you input. So anything that's confidential should never go into a free tool. So yes, some of the concerns on the side there, client financial data being stored by our providers. Well, yeah, absolutely. Then in that case, we use the paid versions. Hallucinations in figures, check the work. Always ask the AI to show its workings, and obviously, use your skills and experience to look at any outputs and make sure that you're comfortable with what's going out there. If you wouldn't put your name on it, then you absolutely must not send it out with from an AI. And I would never send anything out that's been generated by an AI without checking it myself. So one of the most important things, that's kind of point 2 on the right hand side there, have some rules around this. An AI policy is really, really important. And this is just really about allowing your team to understand what can AI be used for? Sorry, what can AI be used for, and what can't it be used for? So having restrictions around certain tasks that you feel important that humans do. Excuse me. Sorry about that. And also, having some clear rules around what tools are allowed and what are not allowed. Whenever we write AI policies for our customers, we're always very clear on what tools the team can use, and also which teams we expect them not to be using, and what sort of tasks they can be doing with AI, and what we expect them not to do with AI. So I hope that kind of makes a little bit of sense around data security. In particular, I'm sure that you have probably seen the new ruling or new law in New Zealand recently, the IPP AAA. It's based around confidential information that's been stored. Realistically, it applies from now. 1st of May is when it came into law. So we need to be aware of this. You do need to notify people when you collect and store personal data, even when it comes from third-party sources. And I'm talking about things like bank statements, supplier invoices, payroll providers, that kind of stuff. If you don't have a policy in your business around IPP AAA, you're simply not compliant. So you need to have one of those in place as soon as possible. I think there are plenty of them out on the internet, or you can even get an AI tool to draw one up for you. It's a very useful way of doing that. And uploading data into something like Claude or ChatGPT is enough to trigger the IPP AAA. So if you are using AI tools in your business already, you really need to be aware of that and start and make sure that you have a policy and that you are complying to that policy. So one of the things that's really important to me around AI is actually not treating this like a piece of new software. This is not really the right way of looking at this. So in the sort of the good old days of IT, whenever we installed a new piece of software, we set it up, we updated it from time to time, and we would expect it to probably do the same job over and over and over again in exactly the same way for 3, 5, however many years. That's not how AI works anymore, really. So we need to start treating it more like a person. So I'm really keen on advocating for AI being educated in your firm's values. So understanding how it is you work as a business. Most businesses have their core values on their website. The AI should have them baked into it as well. So, integrity, honesty, clarity, whatever they might be. We can build those traits into this technology. So it's really important to kind of make sure that that's been done. It's really important to give it clear goals. So this is what the business is aiming for. This is how we're going to do it and what we're going to be looking to do. And if the AI understands that, you're much more likely to get a better result with it. And reviewing its work and managing it. We would do this with any employee that we took on board. You'd never employ a person who didn't have a shared set of values with your firm. We'd certainly never employ a person and not give them an understanding of where the business is heading and how we're going to get there. And we absolutely would not employ a new person and expect it to work unmanaged on its own without any kind of feedback. Really, really important that we do that with AI. I feel like AI is much more like a person than a piece of software, and we really need to treat them like that. So, and down the bottom there, of course, you can see some of the things that setting some guardrails. What data can it access, who's going to use it, and tracking its value. I think that's really important. One of the things that when we are engaging with businesses in our AI consultancy, we never ever take on a project unless we can clearly show the return on investment for what's been put in there. So we will sit down with the business, understand a challenge or an opportunity that they have, map out, roughly speaking, what the cost to the business is of either not addressing a challenge or missing out on an opportunity. Once we understand that number, then we can start looking at what sort of figures we can look to to invest in a technology to allow that to be fruitful. If we're not getting at least $1.50 back for every dollar we put in, we don't bother doing it. It's just not worth it. And last but not least, like any employee, we need to train it regularly. We need to make sure its skills are improved, and we can start building, kind of a picture of your firm and how it's working, and how we want that AI to kind of function within the team. But one of the things that I also I believe is quite important and is very dear to my heart is I don't believe that we should be using AI to be reducing headcount in businesses or making people redundant. It's super important to me that whenever I work with a business, that this is not one of their goals, and if it is, I'll just walk out the door. My game is empowering people with AI tools, and then allowing them to either take on more work, or if they're saving time, then to use that time for something more useful. For example, planning out some new projects that might be done within the business, or focusing on areas of their work which are not getting enough attention because they're kind of sat there manually adding or editing data, which can be done with a tool like AI. So just thought I'd kind of round off with a couple of tips for using AI. If there's a few people in the room who've not really used it at all, and a few, probably about half who are still kind of just really drafting emails things. So number one, always ask for the workings. When AI builds a spreadsheet, you want to make sure that you are understanding exactly how it got from the start to the finish. You guys will have the expertise here. You'll understand how these formulas and calculations need to work. So use that expertise to help and make sure that AI is doing the job properly. Also, really important to use anti-AI language rules. I'm sure a lot of people have heard about the whole AI M-dash, the little dash. You can see it on the screen, and quite a few of those lines there. I actually use M-dashes quite a lot, so I'm a little bit against not using them, but it's an often a thing where it's really easy to point out where AIs have been used, and also you can start training your AIs on the type of language that you use. So how do you speak as an organization, and how would you like the AIs to speak on your behalf when they're doing that? So number 3 there, start with some of the tasks that your team really hates. If you are doing repetitive, boring, kind of low risk, high reward stuff, this is where we really looking to point AI at. It allows your team to get rid of the things that they don't enjoy doing and really focus on some of the much more interesting things they could do. Definitely verify, as I said. We want to check anything that goes out the door, and as I mentioned before, use the paid plans. Never ever use a free tool to do work like you guys are doing. It's way too important. So just as a parting thought, I'm pretty sure that AI is not going to steal your job, but a bookkeeper is using AI well might just do that. It's really important that you get familiar with these tools now. You just need to get into them, get used to them, get used to trying things out on them that you think they probably can't do. I'm constantly amazed with AI tools how well it does jobs that I just had very little confidence in them doing. So it's really worthwhile just trying things out. I'll give you an example. The other day, a customer of mine had a spreadsheet that they had used to export a whole bunch of contacts from a previous contact management system. And the spreadsheet was not in any kind of order. There were just contacts all over the place. It had 7 or 8 different tabs in there, all with different contacts and formats and different amounts of information for each contact. And I used Claude to extract that data and put it into a spreadsheet that could be imported simply into another system. Did it in about 15 seconds, and it was 100% accurate. And I thought it would never be able to read the spreadsheet like that. Pretty impressive tool, I have to say. So that kind of rounds it up for me. I'd love to know if you guys have got any questions. We obviously, if you're interested in talking a little bit further with us, my email address is at the bottom there. But yeah, I'm happy to take any questions. The more things I can answer today, the better. I think I love these to be less of a presentation and more of a conversation.
Hey, Richard, there's a couple of quick questions in the chat here. The first one, Rob McCrone, so have you ever used AI in your own business? And have you got a couple of practical examples around how you're currently using it?
Yes, I use AI every day in my own business. So let me give you a practical example. So how my organization works is we do consultancy work with other businesses. So we would have a bunch of conversations with senior leaders within that business. From there, we would create an AI strategy document that talks at a high level about projects we think are worth investing in. And then from there, we have we create an implementation plan which kind of goes through each of those projects in detail, talks about how they could be manifested, which sort of tools they might be used, and what the return on investment of those projects are. So that's the process. What I actually do is I have those conversations. I record every single conversation using a tool called Fireflies, which is an AI meeting transcription tool. Fireflies is connected into my Claude, and then I have built a full AI, a custom-built AI tool, which I start from scratch. And I, for example, I'll say, okay, I'm talking to Fundtap today. I want you to track their progress as we move through this process. So it's able to read the conversations that I've had with the customer, feed those conversations into the creation of a strategy document, go back, revisit their customer, have a bunch of other conversations, take those conversations and feed them back in there, and then allow those conversations and the strategy document to help us write the implementation plan for the customers. So that's how I use it. So at every step, there's an AI involved, from the recording of the conversations and transcription of those conversations, to the analysis of those conversations, to the writing of documents, to the further conversations and the further writing of documents. So it's involved in every step of the process for me, and I have spent quite a lot of time building these AIs. So I've done spent a lot of time training them, but the time up front is a huge time saving afterwards. And what that allows for us as an organization is we can do outcome-based charging and still keep our hourly rate incredibly high. So that's kind of where we're at with that. I hope that answers the question. It's a bit long-winded way of describing what we do, but I've not found anything in our process or organisation that can't be touched with AI yet.
Yep, no, that's good, actually. And I know one of the challenges in the bookkeeping community moving forward is around pricing and value, as a number of the compliance tasks become, I guess, increasingly automated.
Yep.
And so a really important topic for that. And this one, obviously, you touched on Claude GPT. His question is Gemini safe for use? And do you have any opinion on how good its responses are in comparison to some of the others?
Yeah, so I actually use Google Workspace for my emails and document management systems. So I use Gemini quite regularly. Up until about 2-3 months ago, I didn't have a lot of confidence in it. There was a new release recently, and it is A1 now. It's actually really great. In fact, I'm using it more and more and finding it much more impressive. And the nice thing about Gemini is, because it's completely integrated across all of your data systems, email, files, calendars, all that kind of stuff, it's got a really great way of contextualizing what you're doing at the time. So yeah, Gemini is a really good tool. I wouldn't have said that 3 or 4 months ago, but absolutely there.
And it's not part of the question, but if you had to throw all the others to the side and you're starting off and had to start with one tool, which one would it be?
So I get asked that question all the time, and my answer, you're not going to like it, I'm afraid. My advice to every business I work with is, you got to stay agile. You've got to be ready to move from one tool to another, or even use multiple tools to be able to stay ahead of the game. I mean, I have Gemini, I have a paid version of ChatGPT, I have a paid version of Claude, I have a paid version of Perplexity. I use them all. I'm happy to use them all, because the $100 on a month or so that I spend on keeping the paid versions of those tools is 20 minutes of work. To be honest, it's like it's worth every penny for me, because I just then get the versatility. And so what I end up doing is, I may spend a little bit more time on a piece of work or a project that I'm working on, but I'll run it through several AI tools, and then sometimes I use the output of one tool and get it checked by another tool. So I might get 3 or 4 outputs from different tools, and then feed them into a separate tool and say, take all of these documents that I produced and pull out the best parts of them and make it into one. So it might sound like a bit of a faff, but actually the results you get by working through that process can be really, really great. And if you're thinking of these things like employees, if you had a team and you had a bunch of ideas that you were getting from teams, you would sit in a room and chat about them and bring them all together into one, and distill them down to the best of the best essence that they can be. So if you want me to pick one single tool that's really going to do the job today, I picked Claude. 6 months ago, I would have picked ChatGPT. Who knows what tomorrow might bring? I really can't say. I'm sorry. It's a vague answer, but that's just the reality of the world we're in at the moment.
No, that's okay. And you mentioned earlier around the paid versions and security and that side of things. When you're looking at entry costs into the paid versions, are you able to give any scale, $10 a month, $100 a month, $1,000 a month type?
Yeah. I mean, most of them sit around the $30 to $40 New Zealand per month. I think Claude is about 25 US, and ChatGPT is around the same. Copilot for the Microsoft systems is a little bit more expensive, and probably not a great all-round tool when you compare it to the other tools. But the Microsoft tool has some incredible integrations, particularly into all of the Office products like Word and Excel and Outlook and things like that. So, if you're already on Microsoft systems, Copilot's a great tool. But if you're wanting a general purpose AI, I would say Claude's probably the best. But the price is not too dissimilar for all of them. Copilot's a little bit more expensive. Gemini is around the same price as well. So I would be choosing the tool based on the system I already had at the time. So I went for the Google Workspace because I knew that I could integrate it easily into other tools, and that's why I chose that. The Microsoft systems are not so easy to integrate, but certainly possible.
Yep, no, fair enough. And one other point you made earlier is around the context and information that an AI has when delivering output. So making sure you're onboarding your AI in the right way. Are there any sort of paint by numbers or instruction set or hints, tips you could provide in getting that set up?
Absolutely. So go on, please.
I was going to say, from a personal perspective, it's something we've spent quite a lot of time on. What it does is any question and output from that point onwards it saves a huge amount of time, because it knows what business you're running, what your brand voice is, how you talk, what are the considerations to have.
So I'll answer that question in 3 separate ways, because I think it's important to understand the difference around these things. So if you're just having, maybe 2 different ways. So if you're using a tool like Claude or ChatGPT, there's 2 real ways you can have a conversation with those tools. One is through a standard chat, and the other is using a feature which in ChatGPT, I believe is called projects, and Claude, actually in Claude it's also called projects as well. So projects are kind of discrete conversations that you can have with the AI. They are very boundaried in terms of what data is processed. So when you create a project, for example, you will give it a bunch of instructions, and the instructions will say you need to behave in this way, you need to work in this way, this is what you are, this is how I expect you to respond, and here's a bunch of files that you can use as your data source. And if you don't find it in this data source, don't go and look for it, but ask me. So that's kind of how you could use a project. And then within that project, you can have multiple conversations, but the context of that project stays quite boundaried. If you're using a product like ChatGPT or Claude, and you're only ever really using it in your business, there are settings within the kind of the global settings of the product that allow you to do the same kind of things. So work in this way. This is the kind of language you need to use. This is how I expect you to do your work, and those kind of things. And if you have a team version of Claude, like the Claude Teams or Claude Enterprise, you can set those settings across the entire enterprise as well. So that those instructions of how to behave can be set right up at the top, individually for all conversations, or just within a particular project. So normally when we're doing this work, we consult with customers and figure out, well, what is it you're trying to achieve, and where's the best way to create those settings. So I think that was a question from Vanessa, right, about how to onboard. But yeah, that you're right. It does feel a bit weird, but actually, as I said, treat it like an employee. You wouldn't expect an employee to just walk through the door, sit down, and get on with his job. You'd want to make sure they understand what they're doing and why, and how you work as an organization. So I think it's important to do the same with AIs as well.
And one thing we've found really useful as we're going through our AI journey as well is if you're unsure of anything, ask the AI.
Yes.
This is what we're trying to achieve at the end. What information do you need? What questions can you ask? Where do I put it? And it's pretty good at giving some relatively sort of for first level stuff there anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I think you've hit on a point there that's worth really kind of digging into. This is the first technology we've ever had that if you don't know how to use it, you can ask it and it will tell you. You can never have said that before about any other of the products, apart from things like the old Clippy that used to be in Word that people who were old as me might remember. But it's an incredible technology. It really is. It knows how to use itself. And in fact, if you're struggling to write prompts that are getting good results, use the AI to write the prompt. So tell the AI, I would like you to write a prompt to do X, Y, Z. And it's amazing how that iterative process produces much better results. Rather than you just asking the question, get it to help you create the prompt itself. So you could say, I want you to do this, this, and this. Ask me any questions you need on the way to clarify what the prompt should look like, and then it will produce a prompt that you can then copy and paste. And you can do that in the tool itself or in even other tools to feed back into the tool that you're using. It's a pretty impressive capability.
Absolutely. And another decision one for you from Arcaina, for a report generation using bulk data. Which of your AIs would you ask to complete that task?
Yeah, me personally, I'd use Claude, but I think ChatGPT is actually pretty good at that now as well. And this is one of the issues that we're having at the moment is these tools are leapfrogging each other every 2 or 3 months. So 6 months ago, ChatGPT was the go-to tool, and I would not have anything else. Claude released a new version around September, October last year, and it was a total game changer. And I switched everything over. And now ChatGPT has just come out with a new version, which is really great at image generation and a whole bunch of other things. And I'm kind of scratching my head going, oh God, do I have to go back again now? So it's hard to recommend one, but I think if you go for those main tools, both ChatGPT and Claude are incredibly capable tools at the moment. So if you pick one of those, you're probably backing a good horse. The main reason why I've chosen to move to Claude is because they refused to work with the US government on some of their human targeting systems that they were using in the military. And I felt as a good human being that I was backing the right horse by not paying for a tool that had been used to shoot people out of the sky without humans being involved. So that was just my that was my choice.
Fair enough. And anyone else, do feel free to place any last questions into the chat.
There's one there from Marie or Murray, I'm not sure how to pronounce that. So paid ChatGPT is safe. Is it expensive? Well, like I said, it's about $30-40 a month. It is safe. And in terms of if you're saying safe as in your data that you input has not been used to train the models, which it isn't. So it's safe in that way. Obviously, you've got to be careful how you use it and how you deploy it to make it perfectly safe. But yeah, absolutely. But any of those products I mentioned today, I would trust to do the job as long as they are doing the job for you.
Cool. Thank you. And any final thoughts from your end, Richard, for the bookkeeping?
Yeah, I mean, look, I say this to everybody I talk to. If you haven't started using these tools, just do it now. Don't be scared. There's nothing to be worried about. They are actually quite fun to work with. And if you are using them in your work, great. And if you're just using them in your personal life at the moment, so just to get used to them, done things like planning holidays and budget, finance budgeting and all those kind of things. They're actually incredibly powerful tools. So my kind of take on this is just get in there, just start using them. The more you use them, the better you'll get at them. The better you get at them, the more the better return you'll get on the investment that you're making of time and effort and money to get out of them. It's just that they are very much like having human conversations. The more you talk to someone, the more you know about them.
Fantastic. Thank you, Richard. I really appreciate Richard coming along today. I've known him for seems like quite a long time now.
It's about 20 years, yeah.
Yeah. So local in Nelson, obviously starting an AI consultancy. I will launch one last poll just around Richard's obviously growing his business as well. So if you think there'd be benefit to your business from a catch-up in the future, it'd be great if you could answer this one quickly, obviously anonymised at the front end. So once again, thank you again, Ken, for having us along and giving us the opportunity to provide some value to the bookkeeping community. From our end, AI is really exciting in your space. We've really leaned into it from a business perspective internally. I started my career as an accountant 20 plus years ago now. And even back then, there was the talk around compliance to advisory. Going into Xerocon in Sydney last year, there was a lot of talk that, the technology is finally at a point where bookkeepers and accountants can really start to utilize technology to automate a lot of the compliance work. And it allows bookkeepers then who are in the weeds with their clients, they know what's happening on a day-to-day basis, to actually spend their time and expertise really adding value to the small business market. So thanks again, Ken, for the opportunity, and I'll pass back to you now.
Thank you, Ken.
Thank you so much as well, Shane and Richard, for helping us organize this webinar. I think our members found it insightful and valuable as well. But to confirm, make sure that you actually tell me what your thoughts are on this webinar by clicking on the link that I just shared in the chat box section. I'm pretty sure Shane and Richard would also love to hear your thoughts. If there's something that we weren't able to cover that you'd like to see in the future, or tell us what you like about this webinar as well. And also, as what I've mentioned earlier, we will be giving out certificate of participation for those who completed the survey as a thank you for your time. And yeah, I think that's it for today. Thank you once again, Richard and Shane. And we'll see you again on the next one.
Fantastic. Thanks all.
Thanks everybody. Bye-bye. Have a good day.